Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about international travel. Welcome everyone, Mark here from the Average Me channel, and today finds me in the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, and I just flew in from Saskatchewan, Canada. And people sometimes ask me, what is it like to go through customs and immigration, and what is that process like? So I want to talk a little bit about my experience this morning and tell you a little bit about what you might experience if you do this type of travel, at least what it's like when you are coming through from Canada. So the first thing I should tell you is Canada checks your passport frequently. I think the passport was checked 2 times before I got onto the plane. First, when you go through immigration and they ask you the regular questions, why are you here, how long have you been here, and that's the first security measure that I came across. And you answer all the questions on why you were in the country, how long you've been there, what you were doing there, and whatever they want to know. In my case, this happened before we got to the gate, so if you weren't able to get a boarding pass online, you will then move on to the, not the gate, I'm sorry, the check-in desk, and that's where you'll check your bag and get your boarding pass. At the Saskatoon airport where I was, they weigh the bag, they tag the bag, they give you your boarding pass, and then you move on to the bag drop-off area where it goes through the security screening. Now, in my case, you might be wondering, well, Mark, you travel a lot, why don't you just download your boarding pass to the app? In many cases with international travel, they don't allow you to do that. They want you to physically check in. So we put the check bag to the screening process, and then you go through security. Once again, when we went through security, they wanted to see the passport, they wanted to see your boarding pass, and it's much the same as any security checkpoint, except it happens almost all the time in Canada. Everything comes off, belts, shoes, iPads, computers, all of it's out of your bag, regardless of what status you have. I have TSA pre-check, which of course is American, and I have Nexus. Regardless, everything comes out of the bags, and you go through all the screening. So, went through that, went through the x-ray machine and, your metal detector and all that, gathered everything up on the other end, and then you go to your gate and they do one last passport check as you are getting onto the plane. So they want to see the passport and your boarding pass as you board. Now, what happens sometimes on the way out, it doesn't happen on the way in, but on the way out, they want to fill out a declaration card. So be aware of that. You might want to carry a pen with you, and it just asks you, how are you coming to the country? Where did you visit before? What are you carrying with you? Any, fruits, vegetables, firearms, anything valued over $10,000. They will want to see that on the declaration card. That was when I was entering Canada. Didn't need one when I was leaving Canada, coming back to the U.S. So now we get on the plane. Once we landed Minneapolis-St. Paul, we had to reclaim our bags, and the whole process started over again. So before we reclaim the bags, coming out, you have to go through immigration once again. In Minneapolis-St. Paul, you go up to the kiosk, they scan your passport, you look up at the screen, they take your picture, and they print out a little ticket. And you answer all the questions that I just went over. Are you carrying any fruits, vegetables? Did you come in contact with any farm animals? Are you carrying firearms? All of that. And you answer all those no, of course. And then you go up to the immigration person and they want to see your passport once again, and they take that card and they may or may not pull you aside. Oftentimes entering Canada, I do get pulled aside, but now I'm going to talk about entering the U.S. first. So that doesn't happen so much being a United States citizen. So they check the passport, they check that ticket that the kiosk gives you, they keep that, and you're on your way. So then you reclaim your bag, then you have to recheck it, and it's just like you're going to the airport all over again. You check your bag, you have to have a passport or an ID once again, along with your boarding pass for your domestic leg of your flight, and everything starts all over. So you have to go through your security screening. Once again, I do have TSA pre-check. All that meant at the international gate entering into the US in Minneapolis, St. Paul, was I got to keep my shoes on. Still had to take my computer out, put that in a separate bin, had to take my iPad out. So all of that is repeated. And then you're back in the United States. You are in the country. Now, what happens if you get pulled aside in what I call being taken to the little room? Well, oftentimes when I have entered Canada, they want to know why you're there. Primarily, if you're going to take away any Canadian jobs. So you go in, and if they pull you aside, and you hear on personal business, and you hear on personal travel, and you hear on business, what are you doing? What's your business? How long are you going to stay? Sometimes if you're on business, they will make you buy a work permit, and that could cost anywhere from, several $100s on up. Every time I've had to get a permit to enter the country, it was for the length of stay. I do have a friend who got one recently, and it was for a whole year. So I don't know really what makes a difference on that work permit and how they determine who gets to enter for a long period of time. Or I guess if you overstay that work document, I don't know if they'd kick you out of the country or if they just wouldn't let you work. But if you tell them you're there for 5 days, they expect you to leave after 5 days. So that's my experience with entering Canada or entering the US from Canada. Lots of checkpoints. Keep that passport out. Keep your boarding passes ready and handy. Realize you have to reclaim your bag and recheck it. They don't retag it. They did put the tag on it that had it straight through to my final destination. But you have to leave that tag on. You have to reclaim the bag, put it on a second baggage belt with the same tag on it. So that's the process. So I hope that was helpful for you. You know what to expect. It's a lot of rigmarole, but if you just have your passport handy, have your boarding pass handy, understand they're going to ask you those questions, so be prepared to answer them, and you should do fine. If you have any questions about entering the U.S., generally I just travel from either Canada or occasionally from Mexico, please leave them down below, and I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. So as always, thanks for joining me, everyone. If you like the video, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, ring the bell icon so you know when I post new videos. I'm Mark from the Average Me channel.